Okay, so as people probably know, I'm a huge J. Cole fan. Oops, I gave it away. Okay, so YG decided to drop a song called Scared Money. And honestly, I think I get the idea behind this song. I think I do. However, this is a little ironic to me because it has a duo that we've seen do a feature before. And if you know me, I said one name, but if you know me, I'm a huge J. Cole fan. Without a doubt, one of my favorite artists, right? Some will say because he's too simplified or he goes differently. I say because he's a poet and the way he moves words around. Anyway, the second person is Moneybagg Yo. Now, Moneybagg Yo, at the at some point in his career, could really rap and bring a room together. And on this song, I didn't quite get that, but I think that's just because I haven't heard Moneybagg Yo rap in maybe about eight 8 months. I haven't heard a project from him in like 8 months. So when I get into this, it's gonna seem like I'm coming from one perspective and I'm throwing jabs at people. I'm not. Because there are a lot of people that are mentioned in here that I think will not respond to the punchlines that are put in here, and I think that's why I kind of go into detail with this because there aren't a lot of artists that will talk about this situation or talk about the people that are listed in the song. But we'll get into all of that after a word from our sponsor. After a word from our sponsor, we'll get right into it.
Chegou a melhor parte do podcast. É hora de provar a melhor Coca-Cola. A Coca-Cola sem açúcar. O sabor irresistível da Coca-Cola, sem açúcar e igualmente refrescante. Coca-Cola sem açúcar. A melhor escolha.
Okay, so first of all, let me get a few things off my chest. I'm a huge J. Cole fan, and without sounding biased, I think J. Cole had the better verse. Which I think I will further probably explain when I get deeper into these songs and these lyrics from all three of these artists that are on this song called Scary Money by YG that he decided to drop with two amazing features, right? So, so Moneybagg Yo starts it off by saying about why did you come to the club with money if you're not gonna spend it or throw it, which depending on how we look at it, could be degrading to women or distasteful to women. But some people don't really care. Is probably the way to put it. But in some ways, it can be distasteful. But I guess the club atmosphere of it makes him think, okay, so why aren't you throwing it? We're in a club. So he also mentions I'm gonna have him run like Forrest, which I think, and I could be wrong, I think that's a reference to Forrest Gump. If you haven't seen Forrest Gump, it's considered a classic to some. However, if you don't watch any newer ones, they might have made it. I know they're rebooting things in different series now, but I would say if you want to watch Forrest Gump, watch the original. Which I think that's what he's saying. And he also compares himself to Kanye West, out of all people. Now, this right here is different to me. So he says he's like, I'm Kanye West. What he says is, and for some reason it gets difficult when you talk about this because Kanye's Yeezys are up there with up there with popular brands. Like a billionaire shirt I'm looking for. It's like $350, but I have to check the name on it. But there are a lot of things. But he talks about mainly his whole point. His whole point is these shoes that YG has, but these shoes that Kanye have. Now, personally, I haven't seen a lot of people or a lot of people that know that YG put out shoes. Now, if you go ask them, like, hey, what are Kanye shoes called? They'll go Yeezy, right? Because I don't think musically they're in the same lane, but I also don't think shoe-wise that they're in this same lane. Now, a lot of people might say, hey, well, I know 4 or 5 people that wear YG, but I think off my personal experience, I don't think I know that many. And I think that's why this comes off as, hey, me kind of throwing shade. It's not. I know somebody that has a bunch of Yeezy shoes and a bunch of original boxes that come with them, right? Like a bunch of them. I think at one point they had like 15 to 20. So I get it, right? But he compares himself to it. And then he also throws, I'm not Kid Cudi. And I think this bothers probably a few people because he says, I'm not Kid Cudi, which sounds, and which honestly it does. It sounds like a diss to Kid Cudi. But I don't know on the aspect of what he means by I'm not Kid Cudi. If he says he doesn't take breaks in music, that could be debatable, right? That could be debated if he takes time in music. He doesn't take a lot of time, like Cole. Like Cole would take 4 years between each album. YG doesn't do that, maybe every couple years. But if he's talking about the way he expresses himself, he's not that either, right? Like Kid Cudi has done things that only Kid Cudi and a few people that understand Kid Cudi's mindset could do. Like the kind of dress he wore to make a statement. Only a few people would understand that. Or like when there was a diss directed at Kid Cudi, they said he mentally wasn't okay. I'm not making fun of mental health, but that was one of the lyrics that was pointed at Kid Cudi. And mental health is subjective to that person. Like, it's not all people have to have this amount of stability or this. Right? Kid Cudi deals with stuff in his own way and in his own time. YG, he probably goes to clubs. Kid Cudi might not. Or one might go to a therapist and one might not. So, when he says, I'm not Kid Cudi, I don't even know if he means appearance-wise, because I can tell Kid Cudi and I can tell YG apart. But some people might not. I know there are some people that can't tell certain rappers apart from each other, and I don't know what that's pertaining to, but there are some people that can't. So I think that could be what he's throwing shade at too, because probably somebody said, it might be, but you never know, right? You never know what he's referring to when he says, I'm not Kid Cudi. He could be like, because somebody, he might have been at the airport and be like, hey, yo, that's Kid Cudi. He was like, I'm not Kid Cudi. So that could be that too. He's scared, and then he ends it with "Scared money don't make no money," which has been said so many times that I think this doesn't have as much of an emphasis as the saying first did when it originated in like 1954. We were like, "Scared money won't make no money," or when Wayne did it, "Scared money don't make no money," and everybody was happy about it. Okay, so Moneybagg Yo, I kind of have to simplify this. Well, I just simplify it. He talks about he talks about that people like his country accent or the way he sounds country on certain songs, or when you talk to him in person, he sounds country. Like he couldn't say music or something like that. So he says people don't like it when I talk country, and just talks about women through his whole verse. Now, this Cole verse is different to me. I think this is, and I have a reason on why Cole was doing this, right? I have a whole reason on why I think Cole is doing what he's doing. Now, as I said, I'm a huge Cole fan, so this is kind of my scheme on it. So I'm going to hit these notes backwards. So when I say I'm going to hit these backwards, I'm going to hit them backwards and they're going to sound wonky. So I'm going to say how these sound in order, where he says something about Sports Center. He was saying that his clips go around Sports Center has to repost them. Like that one basketball shot he made in the African League that he was playing in for a couple days. I don't think it was a whole season. It might have been a whole season. Right? And so that, I think that's true. I think because the stature we hold Cole to, he he feels that he doesn't anything he does goes famous. Like any celebrity that does something goes famous. But if it's Cole, like if it's Cole saying that he got back into his Twitter or something, it does crazy numbers. Like if somebody else was to do it, it wouldn't go crazy. For Cole, it goes crazy. Now, so this is where I say I go back and I go forward when I talk about these two topics. So when he says, I flew around the world like I'm Drizzy Drake because he got his own plane. Now, this is funny to me because Cole did... So roughly Cole did a tour for the offseason and he flew, I think it was the States, and then he went to other countries for the offseason tour that he did recently at the job in the offseason in like May of last year. And so this brings up of a more thing because he was on tour for the offseason. And this brings me to this point. He says, when I drop, they push back dates. Now, this right here is clever to me on like 4 different aspects of it. So you have one aspect where he's saying Drake, Kanye, Tyler the Creator, all the big albums pushed themselves back because they were scared of what Cole was going to do for the offseason, which could be true, right? Which could make a lot of sense because he is friends with Drake, and I think he's friends with Kanye. I'm entirely sure what his affiliation with Kanye is. But then this also so this is my understanding of what I think is going to ultimately happen. So he did a feature run all the way up to the offseason, dropped the offseason, took a few months off, came back and ran these features, right? And I think his end goal is, and I could be wrong. So when he says I push people release dates back, I think we were supposed to get Certified Lover Boy in January, but we ended up getting it in like August and February kind of range. So did he push that back, and did he push Kanye's album release back for Donda? Was all the stadium things for Donda being pushed back because of that? Right? Was that the thing that no one was understanding but was happening? And then this brings me to this Kendrick album, right? Because this Kendrick album has been announced since he announced his last album, which is crazy to me because he did a feature and then disappeared. But he also said he was going to drop in his next album, or his last album was going to be a rock album. We never got that, and we still haven't got it to this day. But can J. Cole run these features? Is his whole point to run these features to either be on Kendrick's album or to push Kendrick's album all the way back into another year? And I think this could be the case, right? Because he's dropped two features. He's dropped two features back-to-back weeks. He's dropped the offseason back-to-back weeks. He did a feature with Joyner Lucas of all people. And that song is called Your Heart. But I think does this mean J. Cole is so methodical that he decided to do an interview, the offseason feature, this run of features? He took the summer off. He said he wasn't going to do anything for the offseason. Then when the season started, he's running through these features. But if that is the case, right, when do we get Kendrick's album? Because allegedly, because I say this with all respect, Donda is supposed to drop on the 16th of this month. But that doesn't leave much room for Kendrick, right? Because either we get Kendrick's album roughly someday this week, which would probably be the 11th. But then when Wednesday hit, we would have to listen to Donda too, which I'm not sure logistically how that would work, because they would still be running for the top album of that week. So I'm not sure how that would work out. But would he be risky enough to drop it? I don't know. But I think since J. Cole dropped these features, his catalog has grown to where he's like, I'm gonna say I'm the best in the world and then prove it, right? Because there's been a conversation that his only two competitors are Drake and Kendrick, and in Heaven EP he said, I don't give my credit. They give me bronze, right? Which I'm trying to figure this out. So my goal is, I think this is what his goal is, to run features this year, off season features, drop another album, or wait a couple months until, because we still haven't got that announcement of It's a Boy yet, and then a fall off, right? So he said it would be, so I'm trying to figure this out. So if J. Cole was to drop the Fallout in a couple years, and that's why he's saying they push release dates back, because the off season we didn't have a date for. It was on Album of the Year picture, but it wasn't certified. Nobody's mentioned anything about it. I think it was the weekend of, we found out that it was dropping. So I wonder if he's doing this feature on the pushback albums that should have been dropped this year. And if I'm right, Donda will get pushed back 2 more times. So it'll be pushed back on the 16th, and then the 16th it'll be pushed back again. If I'm right. But I'm not sure, though, because I think, and y'all like, where's this conversation going? So when he says, I think I'm Drizzy Drake, because Drake has his plane, and then when I drop, people push their albums back, or push their projects back. And I'm wondering, is that true? Because it's looking like we're getting further and further out of Kendrick's album of dropping every 4 years, and like, Kendrick, where's that album? We're getting there. Where's that album? So I think that's what this song is going to do. But by far, I think if I could talk about a verse forever and ever, I think it obviously goes to J. Cole. Because I see J. Cole as a metaphorical artist. Not somebody that's straight to the point. But I think we could so with that point, right, with these points that J. Cole mentions in these songs, we could have this discussion for probably another hour. But I think J. Cole lyrically is trying to put himself up there with Drake, right? Because if he drops constantly and he drops hits constantly every time he drops, he'll be up there with Drake, right? He'll be up there with Drake, and people will forget Kendrick Lamar. But we're in that rough space where these guys necessarily, they don't have to, but when you get like 21 years in, a lot of rappers seem to like fade out. But that's my thing. J. Cole has adapted his style many a times, as we've seen in this feature with Moneybagg Yo and YG, and what he did with Benny the Butcher, right? Like, he has adapted his flow, but he also did it with Joyner Lucas. Like, he's adapted his flow so much. Could he do it another round and then prove he's the best by dropping every year like Drake and putting Drake in that competition? I think this song brings up more interesting facts to me, but this song is more like J. Cole when he was on Under with Young Thug. J. Cole has a better verse, and the other people just kind of carry the hook. But they get outshined by J. Cole because J. Cole has a lot of stuff that he talks about in the song which not saying that these other artists don't, but YG compared himself to Kanye is just like, I get you, what you're saying. It's like the Champion debate of Champion was in Walmart, but now people like it because it cost more. But it's like J. Cole just brings substance to it, and I think a lot of his stuff is just metaphorical, so it's not just surface level hits. So I think that's why the best verse to me goes to J. Cole, but the song overall is a 5.7 out of 10. So I don't know. I think I'm rambling on at this point about who has a better feature and why I think J. Cole does. But I think the way he puts these metaphors together, if they're metaphors, I assume they're metaphors. But it might not be. But when them pushing albums back just seems too big of a thing to overlook album-wise, because we've had a bunch of albums pushed back for Cole to release the offseason. Because I think one person dropped with Cole when he dropped the offseason, if I'm correct. So, I don't know. I'm looking at the big picture, and Cole might have some points to it. But he also talks about the crate challenge too, which I think, if you're still doing a crate challenge, please don't break your bones, don't break your back, just be careful. The crate challenge is very scary to attempt, and hospital bills aren't cheap. So, I shouldn't be saying that. Hospital bills aren't cheap, but a lot of people don't like hospital bills. But overall, I think y'all get what I'm saying about this being a very, a strange song to review, because Scary Money doesn't make any money is a common saying. So Scary Money as a song, overall 5.7 out of 10. So we'll see where we get from here, and maybe Cole will drop something, or we'll get a Kendrick drop soon. So we'll see.